My name is William Acedo. I came from Santa Cruz, California, but born in Mexico, Guadalajara, Mexico. I came to Los Angeles in 1986, and I came to downtown LA in 1987. I was at the Seton Street building not too far from here, and I moved in with Rafael Serrano. Los Angeles for me was so new at that time. It really is vibrant beyond what I've heard anyone really describe at that time. Many different diverse groups of, African American, Chicanos, and of course everyone was speaking about Al's Bar. Seton Street had the blessing to be right behind a truck wash right there at 5th and Alameda. Good because it was a store, a 24-hour store, but also it had a large community of people that made their living off the truck drivers. And when I moved into downtown LA, it was like at the very end of an era before crack cocaine. Within 1 year when I lived here, 1988, and then more in 1989, the neighborhood was transformed, unrecognizable from what I saw in 1986 and 87. When you referred to Seton Street, that was one of the hot spots for truck drivers and the village who lives around them. I have stories of that time of driving to work with somebody who had found a place to sleep in the back of my vehicle, or a family living inside of my car that I have to wake up and, oh, I'm sorry kids, I'm sorry mama, So that was the Los Angeles that I moved into. The girlfriend that I was with when I first moved to Los Angeles, it took me down here for a series of nights, no talent night. Definitely I was an outsider, definitely from a small town, definitely getting my dose of Los Angeles as a playground.
Drag queens on choppers,
I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers and of course a lot of the other bands, Agent Orange. It was a fantastic time for LA music. Never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. Never even heard of anything like it. The first time that I really saw Al's Bar as an Al's Bar was when I first moved into the neighborhood that night, and I was all filthy and dirty and I had a bad day at construction, and I came in and I sat down at the bar and I got hit in the back of the neck by a pool ball that then hit the ground. So I take the ball and there's a couple of homies playing pool, Chicanos with long Indian hair with black leather jacket and black clothes and patches and writing all that. Another thing I've never seen before, kind of like modern day Indian warriors playing pool at Al's Bar. And I gave them back their pool ball thinking that it fell off the table, went back to my table and got hit again in the back by a pool ball. And these guys were just messing with me. And definitely I felt the fear of that outsider facing the savage in the city and all the stereotypes that we're raised with. And then they came by me to go and drink. Basically, they chose that they were going to hang out with me that night. And there were these two lovely young Chicana girls who were basically trying to hit me up for pot. Fantastic company, and then when they found out that no, I don't have any weed, they turned their attention to the guy next to them who lived upstairs. So that was also the first night that I got to see the American Hotel. My most powerful impression of the American Hotel when I first walked in and was going up the stairs was the smell. And this was summertime, late summertime, and the American Hotel had a whole summer's worth, a year's worth of just real stink. And going up the stairs, and it was on the second floor, and I just went in to smoke, and the guy's place smelled like dude. The guy's feet, everything you would think of as dude. The hallway smelled like the most powerful, most crazy-ass disinfectant you would think. Everybody shares the same bathroom. The bathrooms, of course, smelled like pee. Even the sink smells like pee. Or, I've smoked out really powerful Los Angeles weed, giggly Chicana girls. That overwhelming marijuana stink smell is the American Hotel. I've lived in the neighborhood for a long time before I considered moving into the American Hotel. Wonderful place to visit, great place to go and, see your friends, but it was the cautionary tale. No matter how fucked up life is, at least you don't have to move into the American Hotel. For many years, much like the rest of the neighborhood, I had a certain snobbery. When I considered moving into the American Hotel was when the angel of catastrophe visited upon my life. The manager of this building was one of the most deeply afflicted members of this dysfunctional family of the American Hotel, and allowed me to move in for a month and a half for free. I squatted for the first month and a half as I was able to gather myself, shed my belongings, and keep as much as I could and cram it into a 9x11 space, which is right next door. I definitely was a contender for the most crap crammed into a space, but I was beat out by TV Terry and some of the other more dedicated lifers. I wanted to redefine what I was doing in visual art. Of course, I've lost my studio space, my workspace, so everything became very much what's happening on my lap. You can't beat the view outside these windows. So I was just going back to just drawing and sketching and making these block prints that you see behind me. Lino cuts, woodcuts, I'm also very blessed to have been part of a collective over there at Self-Help Graphics, so I get to use their studio, their machines, their facilities, and without them, I wouldn't have been able to make art at my time in the American Hotel. The American Hotel, as I said, was a safe refuge at a time of catastrophe in my life. When I first moved in, it definitely lived up to that reputation. I definitely, within the first few weeks, got a full scoop helping of what my neighbors have to offer to me. 6'7", Michoacan homeboys tattooed with their MS-13. They're so fucked up on heroin that their own homeboys don't want them. The 50-something-year-old mom, mother of two, that is sucking dick to pay the rent, and is looking to me like, even if you don't want to, I need $25. And very quickly what happens is a judgment gets suspended. A feeling towards the other that even if they are the baddest ass gangster, when he has his breakdown in this safe spot off Skid Row, he can confide in me that what he really wants is just a legitimate life. You see, even people that you would think have their lives together, when the spirit of this building grabs a hold of them, a spirit that happens when you share the toilets and when you share the showers with people that you may fear, people that you would judge, people that you would look down upon. Now you, in your worst moments, they smell you. You really are in everybody's lap here at the American Hotel. Definitely there's no shortage of wonderful people to meet at the American Hotel. There's no shortage of horrible people to meet in the American Hotel. There's no shortage of dangerous ass people to meet at the American Hotel. Everyone loves Barney. Everyone loves Don Jones back in the day, that super charismatic. The Alice Bar Circle, the Hopes, the Stacys. To be here, you really are a witness to a grand theater of Los Angeles. So whether you are participating or not, you are just a witness. You just see it. Frank Parker I met early on. Being judgmental, of course, I assumed that he was a homeless black dude, hustling up some money for some art. He was, of course, offering to sell me a frang for my wrist, of which I bought for $5. The frang is a piece of jewelry, a really beautiful piece of jewelry that looks and has the flavor of Africa, but he makes them from AT&T telephone boxes and carefully selects the proper colored wires, the different gauges, the one solid copper wire surrounded by those other metal wires with the different colors, and then he melts a little piece of hot glue at the end. But he sits out in front of Alice Bar with a bouquet of all these colorful frangs and selling them to the people in line. He's such a loving person. He is so gentle. He is so accessible. He is so happy to be loved by other people that, of course, you end up spending a lot of time anytime you're hanging out having a beer at Alice Bar. You're going to speak with Frank Parker. He's part of the family at that point. They had a piano at an event, and he immediately came up to it. He's like, oh, right, I've never seen him so excited. He sat down and played the piano, and it's just beautiful, two-handed, Southern Louisiana flavor piano stuff, and really into it. I'm like, dude, you are so badass on the piano. My prejudices and my assumptions of who Frank Parker were clashing against the reality of what I saw in front of my face. And as I started speaking to him, I realized that he has his MFA from Claremont in sculpting. The depth of what he talks about in his frangs, the delicacy of which he wraps them is far beyond what people who are buying them even realize in terms of color combinations that mean different things, different colors of browns. He has different wires stashed around different hiding places in downtown LA. His art supplies, a clipper, some wire, and some hot glue guns in good times stashed in different places so that in bad times when all his stuff gets jacked, he has the ability to still make some more frangs and hustle up a little more cash. Joel Bloom is a very interesting and complicated character. When I met him, he was young, handsome, had a full set of hair, and Mr. Charisma behind the bar. He was that archetype to me, the fearless urban white dude, women really loving him and all that. Older than I was, but still very popular, hip cat. But then a new Joel Bloom emerged from that time. Joel Bloom, the merchant. Joel Bloom, the civic-minded cat. Joel Bloom, the authoritarian, moral cop. I know the Joel Bloom of the Joel Bloom store, which is like, all the best. His love for baseball, his love for LA, his love for Chicago. It's like hanging out in his front room. What I think was most impressive about him is his fearlessness to connect with different community members. There is Joel the merchant, but there was also Joel the community leader, the person who's involved in really anything that's going to happen in this part of LA, and bless him for that. And so when we learned that Joel was getting sick, of course, people came to his side and people came to support. I would have loved to have had the love in my life the way he had people come together for him. His health made his personal life fall apart. And of course, his love of animals made that very complex because he'd have to have those creatures around him. There was at a time when he was in the hospital for some time and he needed someone to like take over the store for a while and take over the worries and just let the things kind of come together. A group of the community, 15 people, came through and stepped right in and cleaned and set up and cozied and fresh towels. And when he came back, he melted right in and he recovered like within 6-7 months. He was back in his store, back at his charismatic self, back, walking the dogs, back for another life, another chance at life. He got back to his love for being acerbic and fierce and vicious and way too clever for any of us. And man, he laid into me for being late on some videos, charging me full blockbuster price, which he never does before. Absolutely ridiculous. And during the decades of downtown LA, I have times where I'm really unpopular with Joel Bloom, and then I'm very unpopular with Joel Bloom, and then I'm really popular with Joel Bloom. And I definitely respected and gave honor to what Joel Bloom had going on, but definitely the first to run out of the store when I'm targeted. You would always look over your shoulder to see who's going to open up the next space to go as far as they can before they get shut down or something bad happens. The American Hotel location was really blessed because of where it was on top of Al's Bar, within this kind of artist community of downtown Los Angeles, on top of the Deep River Gallery, which was, the contemporary arts rock star back in that time, the Spanish Kitchen, the clubhouse, and all the things that were swirling around that would open and close around the American Hotel. But also, I think what really makes the American Hotel really special is that being in Little Tokyo's kind of industrial backyard, it was safe from the chaos that was happening just a few blocks away. So that if you were a dedicated freak, you could find yourself, very much able to live here at the American Hotel, have a safe time during your breakdown moments, but yet go out and, freak 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away at whim. I've seen a lot of changes from the time that I moved in 86, 87. When I got lucky for a studio space here was right after the 1980s SNL scandal, where the Japanese invested heavily in building these new luxury lofts and then abandoned everything. There was this famous building behind the Seton Street building. Homeless people lived in the different levels of this luxury loft space, and you would go in there and basically loot the tabletops, the cabinets, the bathroom fixtures, the toilets, and set them into your raw space. We were like the shadow after an economic boom. During the 90s, the crack really kept a lot of people away. But then during the later 90s, more places opened up. It became more absolutely cool to come down and party in LA. The Burning Man crowd came down and set up camp in late 1990s and never left, don't ever want to leave downtown LA. But the biggest, most important change that I've seen in this neighborhood has been SciArc. Being involved in the community, planting trees, trying to get more amenities down here in this district, that can really backfire. How you can really invite capital and really invite the city to pay more attention, invite different organizations like SciArc. Them moving in has definitely told the investment and the capital world that this is the spot to come and play in LA, that this is the next generation. And SciArc will make sure that this place will always be that, as the very powerful European conceptionaries and visionaries come to play and party and create a name for themselves at our expense. The architecture, and maybe once again the bathrooms, have really kept the funk alive in this building. That time of LA, this place as an intermixing of all these different elements, for working class, elements from Southgate, the Valley, East LA, Chicano, mixing together like they weren't doing in other parts of LA, creating music and creating art. And somebody built a roller coaster in their studio, a massive roller coaster out of plywood. And that spirit is still very much alive in Los Angeles. As far as here is the location, no. And that living energy of Los Angeles is looking for the next American Hotel, looking for the next area, free of judgment, freedom to express the Los Angeles flavor, the taste of LA.
Cut.